Welcome back to the Tiga podcast, a show about self-defense for civilians by civilians. We discuss all things personal protection, including martial arts, combat sports, and street combatives. Our resident MANs, martial arts nerds, include co-founder of Tiga Tactics and holder of black belts in 9 different styles, Dr. Conrad Bui.
Hello, everybody.
We also got black belt holder in 4 different styles, and the other co-founder, Patrick Vuong.
Hey, my Ki buddies.
And I am your other co-host, retired Army Special Forces soldier and champion obstacle course racing athlete, Evan Ultra-OCR Perperis. We've got a fun episode today. Before we get to that, though, a quick word from this episode's sponsor, Vulpes Training Products. Patrick, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your thoughts on Vulpes?
Vulpes, if you've been listening to some of our episodes, you know how much we love them and talk about them. Made out of high-impact polymer, and they replicate real weapons or even like cinematic weapons, and I'm getting a kick using them. I love their knives and their gununting, which is a traditional Filipino short sword. So it's been a lot of fun.
So we'll drop that link down in the show notes down below. Please check that out. Special episode today because we were recording it for the second time in person. So all 3 of us are sitting in a room simultaneously, which is very rare because we live in 3 different locations. But we all came together for Dragon Fest, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end of the episode. It was also really loud in there, so my voice is extremely scratchy. So that's if I sound a little weird, that's why. Today we're going to be talking about can martial artists ... So what we did for today's episode, what we're doing, is we typed into Google, can martial artists, and then let Google fill in the rest. So we're going to answer kind of basically like the top 4 that come up and discuss some of them which are crazy, some of them which may be fun, some of them which may be factual, but this is what the average person thinks can martial artists do, or is curious about what martial artists can do. So we'll start off with the first one. So as I type it in, the first one that comes up is can martial artists break bricks? So Patrick, why don't you start talking a little bit about that?
Can martial artists break bricks? Absolutely. 100%. Now, are all of these martial artists legitimate and all of these bricks real bricks? Some of them yes, some of them no. But absolutely, these people are really breaking bricks. And a lot of people think that they're all fake. And the way I look at martial artists are the same way I look at mechanics, dentists, doctors, lawyers. Some of them are 100% legitimate and very skilled, very good people, and some of them are total frauds. So you kind of have to take in the person in their totality and determine, is this really a legitimate demonstration? But yes, they can absolutely break bricks.
So I've broken boards. In any of my training courses and martial arts gyms, we never actually broke bricks. Have you broken bricks before, Patrick?
I've never personally broken bricks. I know some people who do, like the person sitting beside me, Dr. Conrad Bui. But I've broken wood. I've broken boards. So it is very doable to destroy an object that is not a human being.
All right, so let's go over to Conrad. Tell me about some of your experience breaking bricks and kind of what your thoughts are on this question.
First off, I would say breaking bricks is cool, and it's a great demonstration aid if you're going to demonstrate on stage, for example, at a show or something. Ending with a cool brick breaking demo is really cool. That being said, I think there's not a whole lot of correlation between the ability to break bricks, break boards, and defending yourself. It's almost like saying, well, if I can hammer in this nail really fast, I can defend myself. And so I don't think there's a whole lot of correlation between that and self-defense. But, if somebody wants to break things, more power to them. I broke bricks when I was a teenager, about 19. I did it for a demo, and I took some bricks from my parents' backyard that they had left over, and I broke some of those bricks. And it's not as hard as people think it is. I think breaking boards would be a lot tougher. If you look at, for example, the shape of a chicken bone, and a chicken bone made out of bone is pretty good. You know, you knock it on a table, it's not going to break. If you look at that same shape and you whittle it out of a piece of wood, you could still knock it on the table and it won't break if you don't knock it too hard. But if you take that same shape out of a piece of material that you use to make brick with, and you use that with the shape of a chicken bone, and you knock that on a piece of table or on a table, it'll break. Sometimes it'll just snap without hitting anything. So it's brittle. Bricks are brittle, and I'm not just gonna say it's easy though. Yeah, make sure your hands are conditioned. I made sure to condition my hands before I broke the brick. And what I did when I was, and this as a teenager, so total mischief, right? I told the audience, we had 2 bricks. I would strike the top brick and the bottom brick would break. Okay, and that's transferring my chi and everything. I was a total, I was a total, just a teenager, just right?
Blood sport over here, exploding the bottom brick.
And here's how I did it. So we would have the bricks, the first piece, the first brick we would put on, and then the second brick, underneath that second brick, I would tape some BBs in a line. And so I would have to hit it just enough for those BBs to transfer the force to the bottom brick. And that would break the bottom brick.
Right. That's sick.
So it was so cool though. It's like, bam! And then the bottom brick cracks.
That's awesome. That's so
cool,
good.
You know, just as long as no one saw the taped bottom part of the top brick. Yeah. With the BBs on it. All right, so I was a teenager, and it was total fun. You know, but yeah, short answer, yes, they can break bricks, but that doesn't have a whole lot of correlation to defending yourself.
I do have to say that is a really cool trick. It is kind of a trick. I do like that. It's so awesome. But I do like to do say that breaking bricks, there is a reason for it, whether you think they're good reasons or not, but they're kind of a form of standardized testing. Yeah. You know, same thing with breaking boards. You have to generate enough focused strength and speed and accuracy to be able to break a brick or a board. And so, especially for kids, it's just a great training tool because you're teaching them visually and kinetically that you have enough power to break this very hard material. And so it's a standardized system. And I'm pretty sure, you know, modern Taekwondo wasn't the first system to do. I'm sure they did it hundreds of years ago as well. Because, again, they didn't have heavy bags, Muay Thai, pads, you know, these new equipments with, like, measuring your PSI and all that stuff. So bricks and boards are very standardized.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. There's always a reason that some of these things, we do some of these things. But then a lot of times that turns into a very specialty, and it's like, this is all I do. All I do is break bricks. I don't do anything else. Yeah. And it becomes so specialized, you lose the purpose. And that ability to, again, generate force and strike through the target is super important. And I know I spent, a month or 2 teaching at Elite Academy of Martial Arts in Kansas, and the kids loved breaking. Like, they'd be like, can we break boards today? Can we break boards today? And they always liked my line because I teach with Jacob, the owner's son, and I'd always, like, if we weren't doing anything, I'd just be like, come over here, let me get another rep in. And the kids would be like, oh yeah, I want to go with him. And they punch through the board, and they get excited. So it built their confidence. Right. And sometimes when people over-specialize, we forget some of the logic. But that was a cool story, Conrad, and I like you sharing some of the secrets. So, I mean, you are physically breaking the brick. Yeah. There is a little bit of...
It does take some focus, like what you said. Yeah.
All right. I think we good with that one. Let's move on to the next one. So we'll see what else Google has for us. So the next one says, can martial artists really fly? So that is... Let's jump over to Conrad, our most experienced martial artist, who will share his opinion on this one.
Absolutely, they can fly. Well,
where does this question come from? I think that's I have a theory where it comes from. I want to hear you've been around the martial arts scene longer than me.
if you watch the old costume period dramas or kung fu movies back in kung fu theater days, you'll see scenes where people jump very high, maybe one leap onto a building or a house, and some movies like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, they were literally kind of flying through the air, and I think it's kind of cool. And I remember watching those movies early on, and people that weren't used to watching those movies would laugh, and I would think, it's fantasy, and it's like if I was watching a movie with Merlin and he shot some lightning out of his fingers, I wouldn't laugh because it's a fantasy movie. That's what he should be doing. And so over in Asia, that's part of the fantasy, was being able to fly. And the myth, I would say myth or possibly legend, was that some of the trained martial artists could jump very high and appear to almost be flying because of how high they could jump. Kind of like the Hulk, that's how he can kind of go from place to places. He basically very strong jump. He could go for miles. But there is training methods that I read about how people train that. And so one way they would train that was to put some weights on, like a weight vest or an ankle weight, and then they would dig a hole. Initially, maybe the hole was 2 feet. Next day they'd come out, they'd dig another inch. They'd jump out of that hole. Next day they'd come out and dig another inch. And so incrementally, their body would get so used to it, they could jump out of a 6-foot hole with just one leap. Yeah. Theoretically.
Old plyometrics training.
Right, yes.
Exactly what, yeah.
And there's another legend where in Taekwondo, we learned about this legend. The father would plant a tree, and the son would come out and jump over the tree as a little sapling, easy, and jump over that. And as slowly as the tree grew, the son kept jumping over it until it became a big pine tree, and the son can still jump over it. So progressive training.
Yeah, another good principle. Like, these are legends, but at the same time, you're teaching very good principles about consistency, dedication. Right. Progressive training. I think that's very smart.
Unfortunately, there's diminishing returns.
And it stalls out eventually.
The performance of the human body, and whether those legends were true or not. Hard to say. What do you think, Patrick?
Well, I think the first legend you said, actually, our grandmother said that her brothers, our granduncles, could do that. They would dig holes and basically jump out of. Well, they probably weren't 6 feet. They were probably like 5'2", because Asian men are short. But they could jump out of the hole, dig themselves as deep as they are tall, and jump out in a single leap, or even deeper. Yeah, and they were all apparently martial arts experts. So martial arts runs in our genes. But so that's kind of cool. But I always say, yes, of course, martial artists can fly. I fly when I do a jump kick. I'm flying for a good split second.
Yeah,
I'm defeating gravity for that fraction of moment.
Hey, wait. Evan flies. He flew over here for Dragon Pass.
That's true. That is true.
Yes. So, yes, martial artists absolutely can fly.
Yeah, I think we talked about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon at the beginning, and I remember when that movie came out, it was people were like, it came out right after The Matrix specifically, and I remember people talking about how great it was. And similarly, I didn't have that depth of knowledge in like martial artists being able to fly as part of like the lore. So when I went to see that, I was like, what? Why are people flying? I was like, this is so dumb. And what I really liked about The Matrix at the time was it explained crazy action, right? Because they were in a computer simulation, Neo could do all these things. He could stop bullets. He could fly. He could, bullet time effects, all that stuff. And so that's what I really liked about The Matrix, is it gave logic to crazy action. Because at that point, I'd been desensitized to crazy action. And then when I saw Crouching Tiger, they didn't explain the flying, or at least in my opinion, they didn't explain the flying. They were just like, they do martial arts, they fly. Yeah. And I was like, that's not good enough for me. So I did not like it. But yeah, it's a interesting question that comes up as one of the first things. And there are martial artists. Tony Jaa can do like when I watch his movies, and supposedly a lot of his movies, or at least the ones I've watched, were like no wire work.
Right.
And I was like, these are insane.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would call it flying, but not mean he was actually like flapping his wings, right? But like, dude, man, he was flying out there. And I use it for running too. Man, you were flying out there. I don't mean you were really flying. And I've seen some martial artists online where they like quote unquote run on water, but they're essentially jumping and their feet are touching the water. But if you like slow down the video and actually like track the path of his body, it's just a normal jump. But the way his legs are moving, it looks like he's running.
Right.
So I think, some of it's parlor tricks, but it's still physically impressive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, I think that's good for can martial artists really fly? Next one, can martial artists really fight? Let's take it over to Patrick here.
Absolutely, martial artists can fight. A lot of people talk about Bruce Lee. I don't even need to talk about Bruce Lee because there's debate of, was he really a fighter, but could he really fight? But just look at Chuck Norris. Before he became Walker Texas Ranger or Delta Force, he was a professional martial artist. He fought basically the 60s on through to the 70s. They didn't have the same type of structure that the UFC had. But for the time, he was a professional fighter and he could whoop massive ass. And he was a traditional martial artist, black belt in Tang Soo Do. So absolutely, if you study a solid, legitimate martial art, and you do a lot of training and you have that fighting spirit, you can definitely fight. But that's a little bit more of a modern time. You can even go back into history with people who have recorded archives, with writings and people who wrote about them. You can look at like Musashi, who dueled many, many times and won in real fights, real duels. So there's proof
over
that 61
duels supposedly.
Yeah. So obviously martial artists can fight. There's no doubt about it. But not all. That doesn't mean that all martial artists can fight.
Yeah.
Right. So what are your thoughts on this, Evan?
Yeah, can martial artists fight? Yes. Like we've learned about through the Tiga Tactics videos of real world fights, most fights are very simple, and they tend to be right haymakers and they're sloppy. So if you train martial arts, you will be able to learn how to fight. Can you beat everyone? Does it work like it does in the movies? No. Are there other people who can also have training and skill and it becomes more of a battle? Absolutely. Does size play a factor? Yes. Does strength play a factor? Yes. Does surprise, right, play, like all these things play a factor. So just because you're a martial artist and you can fight doesn't necessarily mean you will win every fight. And doesn't necessarily mean that other people aren't fighting. And I think one of the things I found when I first started training martial arts is I feel like you actually dip in skill before you get better. Because when people first start training, they're like, am I doing this correctly? And they slow down. And I think they actually get worse for like a couple of weeks or maybe even months before they start getting better and they start actually applying some of the skills they learned. Again, if you don't do a martial art if it has zero pressure testing and you're just shadow boxing or doing kata with nothing else, then I think you're going to have a significantly harder time trying to defend yourself.
Yeah, you hit several points there, especially the point where when you first start learning martial arts, your skills go down. Bruce Lee had this saying that before I learned martial arts, a punch was just a punch. When I learned martial arts, a punch was no longer a punch. And then when I finally mastered the martial art, a punch was just a punch. And so, it's like first it was just natural, then it became unnatural, then it became unnatural naturalness before it became natural again, kind of thing. But and also what you mentioned was is there pressure testing. So when we look at the term martial art, is it more martial or is it more art of what you're learning? And it's important to be honest with yourself. What is the martial and what is the art? And if you can't make that distinction, maybe you can go to find somebody who is qualified to help you with that distinction as well too. And there's people out there that they'll tell you that's a lot of art and not a whole lot of martial what you're doing. But that's fine. If you're doing even martial art, more art than martial, like wushu, for example, or even iaido, that's much more art than martial. You still improve your odds of surviving a violent encounter because you're out there being physical. You're getting physical fitness. You're getting body control. You're getting mindset training as well too. So it'll still improve your odds of surviving a violent encounter better than doing something like pickleball or bowling, for example. Okay, so So can martial artists fight? Yes and no. And again, it's all about the odds, and I think it'll improve your odds of surviving a violent encounter doing any martial art.
Have you guys seen the videos? There's like a trend going around on social media where it's like, I've been training for this, and people do exactly what they're doing. Like there's a mugging happening, and people do exactly what they were doing is for training. So like it'll be like, I was training for this, and it flashbacks to a guy in the gym doing like seated rows, and then it cuts back to the attacker, and he's like sitting on the ground and rowing in the air. It's really funny because you get some of the comedy of all of the different. And I've seen them. I've seen like one specifically for martial arts, and like the BJJ guy sits down and he's like, get in my guard, and everyone's like, no. So yeah, it's pretty funny. All right, let's jump on to the last question we'll have for today. So, can martial arts be self-taught? That's the last question. So we'll start off with Conrad.
Yes and no. I think if you can only learn and self-taught, I'll include books as well as YouTube videos or even online programs. I believe it depends on the person as well too. Some people, their physical IQ really high. Their mirror neurons are very tuned. I mean, there's some people out there, they can just watch and they can just do. And if you're one of them, possibly, because there's so many resources nowadays out there. So you can get to a certain point. And I believe if you want to improve, you've got to have a partner, though. There's nothing that can substitute resistance from a partner. And then, that being said, too, there's nothing that can substitute resistance from many different types of partners. Big people, small people, fast people, strong people, explosive people, aggressive people, playful people. So it's important to not just have one partner. And of course, one partner is better than having no partners. And if you have no partners, don't use that as an excuse not to train at all. So do whatever you can. Ultimately, of course, the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is to train consistently under a teacher with many partners. So can it be self-taught? Yes, depending on how you approach it and how you are as a person learning. And then the best situation would be to go to a school with a good teacher, with good partners that will take you through a good journey here.
Yeah, I think a lot of obviously great points there. Can it be self-taught? To a certain extent, yes. Can you maximize your martial ability self-taught? No, I don't think you can. Right? Like you need those additional training partners. You need that additional resources. That you need instructor. You need feedback to fix a lot of things you're doing wrong. And I think if you have also like someone who already has a base in martial arts, I think can pick up other styles and systems faster through DVDs and books. But if you've never trained in person, that's going to be a lot more difficult. Like we were talking about in the last episode, the combatives episode, like if someone tells you not to telegraph, you're like, oh, I do not telegraph if you're a trained martial artist. If you're not a trained martial artist, you understand what that means conceptually, but physically your body won't do it the same. So, Patrick, give me some thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. It's for sure yes and no. Yes, if you're very experienced and done many different styles, then the learning curve is much smaller. It's barely a curve. It's like a little hump, a hill. But if you have zero experience or very little experience, man, it's an uphill battle for sure. You're climbing a mountain by yourself, basically. It's almost impossible to get to any sort of competent level. So yeah, I agree with
But
you guys.
if you don't have the resources, don't use that as an excuse not to train at all. I know some people that are like, I have no partner, I have nobody to train with. I'm not going to even train then. Just go train.
Yeah, I agree. And even if you can't, maybe you can't train the exact style you want. I think if you train something similar or something complementary, I think it makes you better, right? So. I still train bladed systems, but I don't have like a regular group I meet with for bladed systems. I'll go to seminars. I'll do Zoom stuff online, but I do striking training for Muay Thai and I do grappling training for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and all those feed it into each other, right? So like, again, the ability not to telegraph, the ability to move, the ability to cut to angles, the ability to get offline in the event there's like a knife grappling scenario, right? My skills of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu will help. Is it the exact same? No, it's not a one-to-one transfer, but there is a degree of transferability that will still allow you to improve, even though maybe your exact style is not available to you. Any other thoughts on self-taught martial artists or any of the other topics we covered before we start wrapping it up? Or have you ever been asked any crazy questions? Can martial artists do X?
Right. I just to stick to the self-taught question. It kind of reminds me of a lot of the phonies and frauds that we've seen on YouTube and Instagram, social media. But even going back to like Ashita Kim in the 80s, who was like a grandmaster of ninjutsu. It's like, who are you and where did you go? Obviously, that was his whole shtick, was that he was mysterious and very clearly a fraud. But
was he self-taught?
I don't remember, but it reminds me of those types of people who, well, I'm a master of 8 systems. Oh, what are the 8 systems? Oh, I made them up all myself.
I believe Ashita Kim was taught by he has a specific lineage. No one's been able to confirm if that man actually exists. I think somebody found the guy, or they found a guy with that name. Did those two people ever cross paths? I don't know. Is before the age of the internet, right? So you could. And like the name is like it's like super generic Asian sounding name. Yeah, it's just like, so it's too hard to confirm. There's been people who have done deep dives into Ashita Kim, and I do listen to their
another Frank Dukes.
I do listen to their YouTube videos because I think it's just like a train wreck. It's like watching a train wreck. It's interesting. I do think it's interesting. And if you want to know more about some of my opinion on some of like the frauds and some of the more questionable martial arts stuff, the second to last chapter, third to last chapter, towards the end of my book, The Combative Blueprint, I deep dive into some of my opinions on some of those topics that are like a little bit of rooted in truth, but also a little bit of trickery. So you can check that out. Again, check the show notes down below.
Anything in relationship to Bloodsport and Frank Dukes?
Bloodsport, don't besmirch Bloodsport.
Okay. That's
how dare you?
Sacred ground. We will not go there.
How dare you? Have you guys ever been asked anything crazy like can you do like something absolutely insane? Because I've gotten similar questions, but for special forces, like will they ask me something and it's like, dude, you've been watching too many movies, you know. Like how many people have you killed? How many people have you snuck up and choked out, like to death? And I'm like, what? I was like, what do you guys do? Like, no. We occasionally get some very crazy questions from young soldiers. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, I know there's certain amount of people that think martial artists are violent. You know, they think we're just training to kill people, to hurt people. And that's completely not true. So if there is somebody training like that, they're probably criminals and not martial artists. Right. So that one's completely false as well, too. We're not violent people. We're not training for just pure violence for violence sake or to commit crimes or something like that.
I think that kind of wraps up the Ken martial artist ... Since we're here, we just finished up Dragon Fest.
Yeah.
It's a martial arts Comic-Con, I call it. It's a martial arts conference, convention.
Yep.
Right, so they got booths, they got vendors, they got celebrities. Real quick around the horn, give me some of your thoughts on Dragon Fest, Patrick.
Dragon Fest. If you're a martial arts nerd, it is truly the Comic-Con of martial arts nerds. I'm not going to use that term because it may be too offensive. But you would have thoroughly enjoyed yourself. All kinds of characters. They've got everybody as big as like Michael Jai White, it was in a bunch of action movies, started with big stars, and was in The Dark Knight. Very good excellent martial artist, very good actor, all the way down to like the C level star, the D level. At that point, they're not called stars anymore because when you're doing such low budget movies that no one's heard of, it's like, what are you doing here?
They definitely think they are stars when you talk to them, right? I thought it was totally fun as a martial arts nerd. I was nerding out, and you've got to really like martial arts to enjoy yourself for, what was it, 6 hours? Mm-hmm. We were there for 6 hours. But if you've never been there and you like martial arts or you're curious, come and join, because I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. What do you think about it, Evan?
Yeah, it was super fun. I bought a couple of books this time. Mark Shuey, Kane Masters was there. Mm-hmm. What was the people? Sumo Dan.
Oh,
was across from us. Who's the Kali guys across from us?
Yeah, Combat Instruments.
Combat Instruments by Nick. Yeah,
Jason.
Yeah, they were super cool. A lot of celebrities.
Right.
Like, again, martial arts celebrities we're talking about. Michael Jai White was by far the biggest celebrity there. Yeah. And number 2, I'd say, was Cynthia Rothrock.
Right. I agree. And if you haven't heard of them, well, you're not a martial arts nerd, sorry.
It only goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like 80s, 90s action stars. Yeah,
break out the old VCRs.
Correct.
And
Big Trouble in Little China. I feel like a lot of the guys from that.
Yeah. We forgot about talking about the first showing of our new division.
Yes.
Yeah. Our new division of Tiga Tactics.
At Dragonfest Expo 2025, we revealed our newest division of Tiga Tactics, which is our stunt division, headed by stunt icon Will Leong. And
so if you're listening, Will Leong, welcome.
We say this tongue in cheek, of course, but yeah, no. Honestly, Will Leong, look him up on IMDb. He's probably one of the biggest stunt icons of the last 25 years. He was a stunt double in The Matrix Reloaded. He's been on all TV shows, movies. He recently done stunt work in the Naked Gun remake or reboot, I should say, and
Star Wars,
Obi-Wan Kenobi, the TV series. Every big, huge star, he's worked with them, from Jackie Chan all the way to the huge dramatic actors.
Right, and it was an honor hanging out with him all day as well too.
Yeah, just walking around. A lot of times I'd see people and be like, I know this dude from something. Mm-hmm. And I have to like go look at them up on IMDb and be like, that's what I know them from.
Boomer from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
The original.
Original Boomer. Yeah. Not the new Boomer.
Some of the Cobra Kai guys, like not Johnny Lawrence, but like Johnny Lawrence's buddies from the original movie that made appearances in Cobra Kai. So a couple of those guys were there. Gerald Okamura.
Oh yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. I'd say half of the stuntmen were there basically. Yep. James Liu.
Yep. There was the Ree brothers, Simon Ree and Philip Ree. They were there as well. Still looking extremely cool, very fashionable. Like they weren't just cool in terms of like the muscular or handsome, but just the clothes they were
cool.
Yeah, like the way they carried themselves is like, man, you guys are so cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
George Chung from Black Belt Magazine as well too. Shout out.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a great time. I had a great time last year too, and yeah.
All right.
Let's before we quick upcoming announcements, events, etc. This will come out mid-August.
This is coming out mid-August. Well, you may or may not come out in time, but we are hosting and teaching the Street Survival Seminar in New Hampshire at Mount Washington Aikido, shared with Kun Karate Academy. So we'll be out in New Hampshire. That'll be our first one ever in that state, in Conway. So it's going to be an awesome time. And if you aren't able to make that one, stick around, because we're hoping to be back in that neck of the woods. And we're currently in editing 4 programs, actually, 4 online programs. So I'm gonna keep that close to the vest and not reveal what the topics are yet. But yeah, a lot of big stuff coming out soon.
Yeah, and in October, I'll be in Maryland for a CLOT seminar the first weekend of October, the 4th and the 5th, as well as the 18th and 19th. We're back at Rounders MMA.
Yes.
So back in California, Southern California, for Tiga Tactics seminar. So it's going to be an exciting seminar series that we're going to kick off again, and wait and see what we unveil there.
Sounds good. And a quick shout out to a couple of personal sponsors / ambassadorship / friends. Teneco Knives. Again, I'll drop those links down below. I just did a couple of reviews on my YouTube page about their actual products. If you want to see what they look like, see how they fit in my hands, you can head over to youtube.com/@Ultra-OCR, then also Takedown custom shorts and some other cool no-gi Muay Thai type stuff. So pretty good training apparel. And then on top of that, you can get one-off custom. So again, I'll drop that link down below. I think code Ultra-OCR 15 gives you 15% off.
All right. And shout out to Thai Battle Boxing. We're still working with them to get sponsorship as well too. But they supplied me with some belly pads, some Thai pads, quality stuff that we use in our gym as well too. So check them out.
All right. That kind of wraps up today's episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
See you later.
Stay alert, stay humble, stay kind.